All right, so hello and welcome to Keeping Your Microsoft Computer Safe, Critical Software and Antivirus. We are very happy you are here. My name is Amy Nichols. I am the campus coordinator at the Campus for Creative Aging, which is a division of Region 4 Area Agency on Aging. We are recording today's session, so keep your camera off if you want to be shy. And we ask that you stay muted unless you have a really important question. And if you do have a question and it's not really important, you can feel free to use the chat box. And if you don't know where that is, you just wiggle your mouse and you'll see that at the bottom of your screen. And you can type it in there and I will happily interrupt our instructor, Charlie, at the appropriate moment. Should you have any issues, feel free to email me at amynichols@areaagencyonaging.org. I monitor my email while I'm doing all the other hosting duties. And if you, for some reason, we are Zoom bombed, this session will end immediately and we will pick it up on another day. If you don't know what that means, it's probably a very good thing. It means that hackers take over and do some really awful, nasty things. And lucky for us, knock on wood, it has not happened for Area Agency at all because we're kind of protective of our Zoom links. We don't put them out there on Facebook, which is another safety security thing we need to add, Charlie, to your other class. Yep. So like I said, my name is Amy Nichols, campus coordinator. The campus is a very cool place. It is a physical place next to the Region 4 Area Agency on Aging in St. Joe. It is also a movement to make education fun and creative, and aging fun and creative. So that's what we're doing today. However, we had to close our doors, obviously, due to the pandemic. So we had to pivot a little bit, and our fun education is now via Zoom. So normally these gentlemen, I would be in the same room with the instructors, but not now. We're not even in the same town, which is kind of cool.
Right.
We are in the same state, though. I will put a caveat on that one. But if you are looking for more classes, we offer quite a few. You can visit our website at campusforcreativeaging.org, and you can just click the links to sign up. We make it very simple. Now, I'm going to introduce this and turn this over to Charlie Olszewski, our instructor, engineer, educator extraordinaire. And I always tell him he's the smartest guy I know, and he always says he's not. But he is going to cover all of our stuff today. He is going to teach us all kinds of things. So, Charlie?
All righty. So let me share my desktop with you guys. And put us into the presentation mode so we can see that. So my background is I've spent about half of my career in higher ed and about half my career in private sector. My higher ed, oops, somehow I managed to have a timer in there and shouldn't do that. So about half was in higher ed. I was an assistant or associate professor is where I ended up as teaching computer information systems, computer networking, computer security. Private sector positions, I worked for Ford Motor Company, I worked for a machine tool company, I worked for a consulting engineering firm. My background was in engineering and management of engineers and technical people. So I started doing this in retirement. I started doing seminars. I started doing them with Lincoln Township Library. Actually, this series was born out of the stuff that I did. I think it was back in 2017. I started doing them with the library, and it's moved to about 6 hours of very fast-paced material. I'm trying to slow it down a little bit, but there's a lot of stuff to it. I also have started doing stuff with the Area Agency on Aging, with their computer classes there and their hands-on material as well. And keep trying to get into golf and a little photography and all that stuff, but that's the way it goes. So, oh yeah, one of the things too is on the bottom of your first page, well, toward the bottom, note Wednesday, December 2. So you have a little error to be corrected there, those dates. The repeat of this, well, today's date is 12/9. And we're doing it. And the repeat of it is on December 15th, and that'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. So especially if you want to know if you want to go through it again. Sometimes it's not a bad idea to go through these a second time. In fact, I know in the second time I've got at least 4 other slides that you don't have that I'll show you today that will be added to that. And it'll probably grow through a couple more based on questions and comments you have today. So December 15th is that repeat date. That's from 6 to 8 in the evening. So for this seminar today, and even at that point, talk real briefly about what the purpose is. Basically, in a nutshell, I don't want you to fear your computer. And the other thing that you need to know about the purpose of this thing is that everything keeps changing. So what I did last year, what I did 6 months ago is outdated. And that's one of the reasons for doing this, to show you the new stuff and the more updated stuff. So after I do that, in just a couple of minutes, then we'll go into updating Windows 10. There are some issues with that. They've actually, I think, got the process down to something pretty decent, but it was pretty clunky for a while there. I'm going to look at some other critical software. There's a lot of other pieces of software that you need to download and run. There's a number of pieces now that I used to show people how to download, how to run them, how to check and make sure they're going to the right place, that I no longer have to do. But one of the things that you will want to do is look at your computer and see if that software is still resident on your computer. You may need to remove some of it. We'll talk about that under other critical software. And then finally, I'll end up with antivirus. I'm going to focus on the antivirus. Nope, you can't have remote control. Someone's wants to control my screen, but you can't. So that was probably an accident. So antivirus, what I'm going to talk about is Microsoft's Defender and McAfee. There are a number of other antivirus programs out there. The stuff that we're going to look at, I think most of those have the same capability. It's a matter of where do they hide them on their screens. So let's start off with, I'd like to, and I think Amy would like to gather a little information too about the makeup of the group that's attending today. So we have a poll question. See if Amy.
I do, and I'm going to launch this poll right now. And if you're not familiar with polls, they are going to pop up on your screen, and you pick the answer that you think best fits you. Hit submit or enter, depending on what kind of thing you're using, and that is it. These are completely anonymous. We do not attach names to ages here, and of course, this one is, what age group are you in? Are you 65 or older, 44 to 64, or younger than 44? So it looks like you guys are quick with this one. All right, Charlie. And we have, all righty. So far, this age group is 65 or older for the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part.
Good.
All right.
Okay, I think we got a second one too, Amy, don't we?
We do. I am just all over the polls today. So now we're can you tell we're gathering a few things from you. We would like to know, where do you live? So there's only one answer to this, by the way. Southwest Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, other states in the US, or outside of the US. Whichever one works for you, feel free to answer it. And it looks like we have 12 out of 12 votes. You guys are so quick with these polls. You've obviously done this before. So the majority are from Southwest Michigan, Charlie.
Oh, good. And we do have one from outside,
the
new area.
We don't check IDs and we don't check addresses. So
good. All right, cool. So that tells me also that I don't have anybody from Canada in this one, which is a good thing. Not that I had anything to do with people in Canada, but I had to be careful with my remarks about where you get resources when you're in Canada. It's very different. So critical software, I'm going to look at printers and updating your printers, cameras, all sorts of other hardware. All your hardware needs to be updated. Adobe Reader, Flash, Java, and Shockwave, I in the past have ended up talking a lot about those in these sessions and showing people how to download those things and move them. Most of those are either, if they haven't gone away, they are going away by December of this year. So we don't have to worry about those things anymore. And then the antivirus, like I said, Windows Defender and McAfee will be the ones I look at. So the purpose of this seminar, like I said, I don't want you to fear your computer. Computers, I think, are very useful things, very good things. I can't do without my computer. But also, I want you to not get updates. When I've done these seminars live and I've asked people, I've had them fill out forms and all that stuff, I find that a number of people have just quit giving up on getting updates for their computer, and that's not a good thing. That's potentially bad. So I want you to not get your updates. The other thing with 10, this has more been an issue with Windows 10 as opposed to the other one, is there is the potential for you to be working away at your computer and all of a sudden it'll start shutting down or restarting or something. So there's ways that you can prevent that from happening, and I'm going to show you that today so that that doesn't happen to you as well. So what I'd like you to do, I mean, my goal in part is for you to get a little bit curious about computers, a little bit, not too curious, because I spent a lot of hours doing this stuff, and I know that if you get real curious, you could spend a lot of hours and days and weeks digging into this stuff. So a note about versions and variations. The other thing with a Windows system, with the antiviruses, with the other software, there are a lot of variations on that. I have done my screen captures either on Dell systems or Hewlett Packard systems. Those are the two systems that we use in this house. So even from one Dell to another, there are variations, and certainly there are variations from Dell and Hewlett Packard in these things. And I want to show you some of those variations. One of the ways that we can learn to generalize to other areas is by looking at similarities and differences. So I show you as much of that as I can. So, like I said, it keeps changing. And oh, by the way, up in the right-hand corner, if you've not done one of the seminars with myself, up in the right-hand corner of your, back that up. Up in the right-hand corner of the slide, I tell you the page of the handout we're on. So right now, what I'm showing you should be shown on page 3 of your handout so that you can follow along, and there again, write notes if you want to write notes. So one of the big differences and one of the big changes for Windows 10 that's come just in the last month or so is the shutdown capability. So this first diagram on the right, this one shows, I did a screen capture of shutdown on April 17th of this year. We have the capability of updating and shutting down, or we have the capability of updating and restarting. That's the only capabilities we have. Well, by August of 16th, I happened to do another screen capture of that because I knew I was going to do these things. Yeah, still the same. Hadn't changed. And then as I started to prepare to do these, I knew the seminars are coming up, and it's like, I better do some screen captures. And I didn't even notice until I did screen capture on November 5th that the shutdown has now changed. So on your computer, if you've got the latest update of Windows 10, you will notice that you have two capabilities that I had wished for a long time I had with Windows 10. We used to have these with Windows 7 and before. I now have the capability of ignoring the updating, just shutting the machine down, or I have the capability of just restarting without applying those updates if I want to do that thing. Not had those, I don't know exactly when it happened between August and November, but because I happen to do screen captures, I happen to notice that we have those capabilities. So
people must have been working on that when they were home during the pandemic, working from home.
Oh, maybe they got smarter and finally did some good stuff for a change.
Maybe they actually worked.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that, and I've looked at this like yesterday, and I didn't see it. So
oh, you didn't see it? Okay.
And it must be very recent.
It was, well, November 5th is when I did that screen capture. So it's possible your updates haven't been applied yet. And as we go through this, I'll show you how to check that and do that update.
Oh, no, I've got it now. But a few days ago, I didn't, because I had update and shutdown requests out there, and I didn't have those other options.
So I've got this in a slide, but this Tuesday, yesterday, was what we call Patch Tuesday. So very likely you all got the update overnight for Patch Tuesday on that. So in this part of updating Windows, what I want to do is talk about how you find out what version you're using, because again, if you're using an older version, you may not have some of these capabilities. So we want you to be able to do that and be able to see what's going on and know how to get that information. I want you to know what the indicators, I think most of you probably have seen these indicators that you got an update, but I want to go through that a little bit. Then I want to show you how to do the updating if you haven't got the updated, how you can actually do that. And then go through some stuff. I'm going to go through a little explanation of what happens during an update. What does that mean? It's more than just one step to it. So I used to go through this in Windows 7, and Windows 7 has I did a bunch of screen captures with updating Windows 7, where you can actually see most of the process of that. And then one of the issues that I think people get into is active hours. So let's find out about that. Though I think we got a poll coming up here, don't we? Amy, we can do another.
Of course we do. Let me pull it up here. So stop that and check this one. All righty. So Charlie wants to know, have you seen the do not shut your computer down message at an inconvenient time? Yes or no?
Oh, okay.
All right, and I think this one's going to be interesting. For those of you that just joined us, when it comes to polls, you just click on your answer and hit submit. These are completely anonymous. We do not track who says what. We're just basically looking for the overall information. All right, so ending my polling now, and it says 6 and 6, 50-50, Charlie.
Wow. That's cool. That was one of the first things that really aggravated me about Windows 10. I think I was getting ready to leave on vacation, and I went to shut down so I could go jump in the car because I was running 5 minutes late. And it says, don't turn off your computer. And it's like, how long is this going to last? And it was a really huge, huge Windows 10 update that I think went for 10 or 11 minutes. And, yeah, okay. All righty. So I think we have a second question, too, to go with this.
We do. 1 second and stop there. All right. Have you changed the active hours on your computer? Yes or no? And I should have added to this one, the what? Because I'm not sure I know where to find this, Charlie.
Well, you will in a little while.
I know it. That's what I told you. I'm super excited for this class. I've not been to this one before. So, all righty. It looks like everybody else is in the same boat with me.
Right.
I don't know what they're
Good.
talking
All right.
about.
Well, we'll show you how to do that here coming up in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. And then I think we have a fifth, question number 5.
We have one more, and I feel so much better, you guys. Thank you for, oops, I don't want to stop that. I want to do this, for being right there with me. So have you ever had a notification that updates are ready, and have you shut down without updating? And Charlie, I almost wonder if we should have said, how many times have you shut down without updating here? Like maybe we should have changed this question a little bit.
Well, I should have had the and have you shut down.
Okay, and maybe, yes. You may have had that in there. Maybe I did that at the end. All
no,
right,
I didn't have it in there.
All right, it looks like there are 9 people in the same boat with me that have ignored those notifications and shut it down anyways.
I am so glad because I know I'm not wasting my time doing this part of the session then, because we're going to go over all that stuff. And if you all knew that and had no problems with that, oh well. All righty, so let's move on. Oops, gotta click back on the. So first off, finding the version. This is really important to know what version you're on. So in order to do this, you know, it was really easy when we had Windows 7. It was Windows 7 or it was Windows 8 or it was Windows XP. So you always knew there was a change in version. With Windows 10, we've not had that. It's been Windows 10 now for several years. We've had version 1803 and 1902 and 1907. And we're currently, right now, when you look up your version, you should be seeing version 2004. That's the most current version that we're on at this point, unless it updates next week and we go to 2005. So, but that is the version that we're on. In order to find this information, you want to go to Settings, then go to the, well, there are a number of ways to do that, but here's one way to do that. If you go to settings on your computer, and then you go to updates, and then you click on Windows Updates, or probably updates, Windows updates, then you will see the Windows version if you click on OS build. So this is what's called OS build, and this will tell you. Now there are other ways to get it. Like I say, you can do a number of them. You can type Windows specification into the text search box and you'll get to this information. You can use Cortana and speak Windows specifications into Cortana and you will get this coming up as well. And once you get there, this is what's called OS build. Once you get there, here is where your version is, and you notice that this is version 2004. Here is where your OS build is, and this one was build 19041.630. And then something that, and I don't remember when this started appearing, the feature pack, it wasn't in the first couple Windows 10 things, but they have a feature pack also. So depending on what version you have, what feature pack you have, and I think those two probably make the biggest difference, your screens may look very different than my screens do. If you're still using the 1803, you may not see some of these things on your screen when you go to it, and it's because you're on an older version.
Charlie,
Similarly,
can I ask you a quick question?
Sure can.
I've got a different version. Mine is 20H2. It looks like everything's updated by one, like the 19040, it's 042.630. So I got like numbers one in advance. This came out about probably 2 or 3 weeks ago that I saw.
Okay, this one, I think I did this within the last week or two.
Okay.
But I was wondering if it was different this morning.
Mine's, I know it's called 20H2. It's the first time I've ever seen this without numbers.
Yeah, I've never seen that before either. So, yeah. So again, does your screen, your information when you do, can you get to OS build quickly?
I went through the settings. Is how I got to it.
And it looks the same as this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. Well, that's an interesting. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, and again, like I say, there are a lot of changes keep coming at us with these things. Okay, so how do I know if updates are available? That's the next thing. One thing you need to know with Windows 10, Microsoft people decided they didn't want to leave it up to the layperson to make sure they turn Windows updates on. So right from the start with Windows 10, they just enabled automatic updates. So they're on, unless you turn them off, automatic updates are there. You will get a number of different indicators across your screen that there are new updates that are available, and I'll show you some of those. We've got those in the handouts for you. As I mentioned, Patch Tuesday, what's called Patch Tuesday, is the second Tuesday of the month. That was just yesterday that we did that. So you got new updates, and depending on when you turned on your computer, they may come today, they may come tomorrow. If your computer's been off for a couple of days, as soon as you turn it on, you'll get those updates. Did you have, Sue, you look like you're, yeah. Do you have a question?
Yes, I'll raise my hand.
That's good.
Say like your Windows 10, did that start, okay, my computer is 2 years old. So I'm assuming that it's, it's a Windows 10 and that's why, so like how many years back is it before it was a Windows 10 instead of a Windows 7?
Windows 10 goes back.
Probably about 5 years.
Yeah, I think 2010. I think 2010 is when Windows 10.
Oh, wow.
Wow, okay.
Or not 10.
So then
2015, I'm sorry.
So obviously if you have a computer that's less than 5 years old, it's a Windows 10.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2015. My desktop, I believe I got, well, yeah, my desktop is 2015. It's time to get a new desktop, and that was 10. That was one of the first installed Windows 10 operations. So it's been around for at least 10 years. I think that year of 15 is when they started, if you had Windows 7 or 8, you could get a free update, and people started doing it. I updated my wife's HP from Windows 7, I think it was, or yeah, from 8 to 10 at that point. Okay, any other questions while we're there? All right.
I was going to say,
So-
if you have a version other than 2004, the first 2 digits give you the year that it
Right.
was released in.
Right. Yep. So the 18 that I showed you earlier was a version that was released in 18. That was a screen capture I did probably in 2018. So where do you see the indicators that you have updates? Well, the notification of the taskbar, the display icons area of the taskbar. You may actually just see an image just pop right up on your screen. When you look at that shutdown button, you also see an indicator that you have updates. So what do these look like? Down in the notification, this is typically the right-hand corner of your computer. You might see this, that I have one new notification. And if you click on that notification will be something to the effect that there's a Windows update available. Another place is still down in that corner. If you click the display, the icon display area, on that, notice here, this is a little update symbol with a little orange dot, and that's an indicator that there are updates. So you got updates pending that you have to deal with. And then the other way is when you go to shut down and you go to that power, that simulated power button, there's a little orange dot on that. That means there are updates that are pending that are ready to be applied to your computer. So those are all indicators that you're likely to see. When you see those things, this one not always, and in fact, this one not always, you may have other notifications that are there, but that's one way that Microsoft does pop up a little message and says that updates are pending. This one certainly, with that orange dot, that's specifically what it means is there are updates. Now, it may be just driver updates, but there are some updates from Windows. And similarly here, that's definitely updates that are to be applied. And like I say, sometimes you'll get this notification that may just pop up at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Your device will restart to update outside of activated hours. So that's why the active hours is so critical to understand how that works, is that's when they're applied. But that's a message you're likely to see. So a couple other ways you're likely to see that there are updates available. If you go to the Windows Update page on your computer, you'll see here that, well, this is the one that you'll see, our restart is required. So what that essentially means is that the updates have already been downloaded to your computer, so you don't have to be connected to the internet. They're already downloaded. In fact, they've gone through part of the installation process. In fact, they've gone through most of it, and all you have to do is do a restart in order for them to be finished and finalized. This screen is showing what you'd really like to be seeing most of the time, that you are up to date. So this is a screen capture I did on April 16th of this year at 10:42 a.m. that said I was update. I do periodically like to go to this screen just to make sure that all my updates are there. And often, folks, I'll tell you, even though Patch Tuesday is the official time for updates to be installed, they will download updates, critical updates, at times other than those, especially when you buy a brand new computer. This laptop I'm working off right now, I just got in November, and for about 3 weeks, I think almost every other day I was getting updates from Windows on this thing. So you can go right to this window and you can actually, here you can schedule the restart. Here you can do the check for updates to see if there are any available, and then you can start installing them right from that window. So here's what this looks like. Again, this is a button if your Windows, even if your Windows are updated. I have had this where it said I'm updated, and then I hit the check updates thing, and a new optional update is available for me, and then I can install that and download that. This is something that it took a long time for Windows to do with Windows 10, for Microsoft to do with Windows 10. It used to be that there was no way you could pause those things. They came whether you liked it or not. I had a workaround for that I used to talk about, which is changing your active hours and doing a few other goofy things, but it stopped it. Evidently, I wasn't the only one who was doing that, so Windows eventually just put a thing on there. If you click that, pause updates for 7, if I click that today, then no updates will be applied to my computer for 7 days. It's a blanket 7. Here is where you change your active hours. I'll show you that in a minute. Here's where you can also review the history. So if you want to know what updates have I applied to my computer, if you click on this view update history, then you will be able to see what updates have already been applied. This is advanced options. That's another one that we really need to look at. And so we're going to look at that next. In fact, I think it should be on page 7 right underneath this one. So let's look at, oops, I think I went too far. Yeah, there's the advanced options. So again, like I said, that pause button, pause for 7 days, means exactly that. It pauses it for 7 days. Say you want to just pause it till tomorrow or the next day, a day or two. Or say 7 days isn't enough. You're going to be going on vacation. You don't want this thing screwing around. Your kids might be, you may be going on vacation, or you're going on business and the kids might be using your computer. I don't want them to be screwing with this thing while I'm gone. I may need to put that for 10 days or 20 days. In fact, you can do it for a maximum of 35 days. And in order to do that, this is where you do those things. So this is specifically pause it for a specified date. So if the 7 days is not acceptable, you want to go with 1 or 2, or you want to go with 5, click this select date, and that's where you can then set it to 1 or 2 or up to 35 days. So you've got complete control over that. A couple other things are on that advanced options page that are really important to look at. One is receive updates for other Microsoft products when you update Windows. If you have that on, as I do on this screen, if you have that on, if you have other Microsoft products on your computer, hardware devices, then those updates will automatically be downloaded at the same time. So other drivers and stuff like that. I encourage you to do that. It's a good thing to do that and get those. If not, you're going to have to keep track of those and do those updates manually. Another one is download updates on metered connection, and that, I think, was the default. So when I did this screen capture, I noticed for some reason it was turned, oh yeah. A pet peeve I have with Microsoft is sometimes when they do their updates, they go and change your defaults. And I've always had that off because I don't pay, I have a blanket rate that I pay, but some people may have variable charges on there and they need to use metered connections, and you can turn that on. So I normally have that off, but I went back in here just the other day and I noticed it was turned on. My guess is that was done by an update that Microsoft did. Another one, restart this device as soon as possible when a restart is required. That one I turn off. And I turn that off because that's the one that gets us in trouble sometimes. All the, I may be working away and it may download in the background all my updates and it may start installing them. And if this is set to on, whether I'm working or not in the middle of the PowerPoint, that will enable your computer to just immediately do a restart. So whatever you're working with, it's gone. So if you do have, and answer that question before, have you ever had a problem with that? If you do have a problem with you're working away and all of a sudden your computer's restarting, you don't want it to be doing that, go into this advanced options and check this here, move that to off. And now it'll only restart when you have it restart. Update notifications. So show notifications when your PC requires a restart. I have that set to on. I want to see that notification that it requires a restart. Then I'll know at least that it's pending a restart. I'll know not to restart if I don't want to have the updates installed, or I'll actually push that other button now on that as well. So those are some critical things, that advanced options page. Spend a little time taking a look at that. And word to the wise, after updates, Windows updates, this one did change on me because that was not set like that. And this is a notorious thing that Microsoft does, is when it does some of its updates, it puts it back to their default settings rather than your settings. So here's a process, this way back when I used to go through this whole thing and when we saw more of what was going on, here's what happens, and this still happens with Windows 10, we just don't see it. It's not as obvious as it used to be. So typically, once we do the install the updates, Then it's going to go through a process where it actually downloads them. So we've got to download those files. Some of those files could be very, very large, some relatively small. Then it goes through a process called preparing. There's a few things that go on with the repairing, one of which is it creates what we call a restore point. So if something does go wrong because of those updates that were downloaded and installed on your computer, you can roll back to a restore point and be able to recover and have your computer working. And that's one of the things that's going on when it's doing the preparing. Then eventually it gets to the point of what we all think of as the installing, but as you can see, there are a number of steps before it gets there. And then eventually all your updates are successfully installed. Now, sometimes it wasn't, in the older versions of Windows, we rarely had to do a restart. That was kind of an anomaly. Nowadays, we seem to almost always with Windows updates have to do a restart, so that's part of the process. So back then, that was something unusual. Okay, so talked about the active hours. Again, if you if you wanted to change your active hours, when you go to the advanced options page, when you hit select date, this is where you can deal with your active hours. So Microsoft constantly thinks it's smarter than us, and Microsoft wants to control your whole world. And so it has a switch there that allows it to do that. And if I remember correctly, by default, that is turned on. I turn it to the off position. I don't think they can figure out my active hours any better than mine are. Mine vary all the time, so I keep changing them. So my current active hours at this point were 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., but if I wanted to, this is where I would change it. I'd click on that and I could change that to whatever I want. So again, if you want Microsoft, based on your activity, Microsoft will look at your activity and say, oh my God, this person is on their computer constantly from 8 o'clock until 4 o'clock, and then they're never on the computer for a period of time. So they'll adjust your active hours to 8 to 4. Now, if you're on your computer at 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening and updates have been installed, you've got it allowing it to automatically restart, you could be very unhappy with that situation that you're in. So that's why I just turn it off. Here's when you do change your hours. You're going to get a little box that looks like this. That's where you set your starting time and your ending time. If you click on this is the hour 5. If you click on that, a whole menu will come up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way through. And then the same thing for the minutes, so that you can set those to whatever you want for the minutes. So you can set your start time, set or change the hours and minutes of the starting and the ending time. And then it's really important, folks, to hit save. There's been a time or two where I forgot to hit save, and I come back the next day and go, wait a minute, I thought I changed that. Well, I did, but I forgot to hit save. So you've got to hit that save button if you want those to take place. All righty, so that's a quick crash course on Windows and Windows updates, some of those screens that are important to look at and to deal with there, and you can take a look at those. Anybody got any questions on that at this point? All right, cool. Then we're going to move into other critical software. So I want you to know about updating, downloading, verifying that things are not a scam, and that's where I forgot to put in a screen capture, and I still forgot to put in a screen capture. Computers have two major parts to them. One is the software, and that can be divided into a couple things, system software and application software, and hardware. So the software and the hardware have to talk to each other. The way they talk to each other is through something called a device driver. So these device drivers have to be updated because as manufacturers make changes to the hardware and as people make changes to their software, they may not continue to talk to each other. So we have to update device drivers. There is a device driver for every piece of hardware that you have on your computer, including your USB ports, that hardware that runs your USB ports. So the common ones that we've had to deal with are printers. Printers have device drivers that need to be updated. Cameras, I just got into a problem a week ago with the camera on this laptop that didn't have the updated driver. I'd been using it for Zoom and everything was fine. Then I went to use it one night and my camera wouldn't work. And it was a device driver. When I checked and loaded a new device driver, everything was fine. So a couple of these others we also have had, but I think it's time for a poll, isn't it? Ah, yes, it is. It's time for another poll.
It is. All righty. Let me get the next one going here.
So
this one is a multiple choice question, so you can choose more than one answer. So click on any of the following you may have updated recently: your printer driver, Adobe Reader, Flash, Java, Shockwave, or I have no idea.
I got it in on that one, didn't I?
Yes. I'm like, oh, yep. You know where I would be in this department. So
I'm sorry, I just actually uploaded the Adobe Reader yesterday.
Oh, good.
Other than that, I have no idea. So no idea is the correct answer?
Yes, exactly.
Well, do the Adobe.
You can do both.
Yeah, you can do both. You can do both. Sure.
I have no idea because all my updating is done automatically, set up the drivers and everything, update.
Good.
So I don't know what
so you would not, right. Having no idea is not a bad thing.
And I'm with you because it just sort of, we are forced to, your organization requires you restart your computer because I only have my work one at home. So, all right. It looks like we have 8, I have no ideas, right there with me. A printer drive, 3 printer drivers, 2 Adobe readers, and a Java.
Yep. And a Java is, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But like I said, they have no idea. There's 2 reasons for that. One would be, Amy, like you were saying, because I really don't know what's going on with the thing and whether it's doing it or not. But the other is because I've automated all the stuff and I really don't know that a lot of that stuff's being done. And a lot of these things, once you automate them, you don't know. There's no way to know unless you go in and go back to that Windows Update screen and look and see what's been updated. That would be the way that you could do that. Okay, so I think that was the only poll question, for this one. Oh, no, we do have one more.
No.
That's right.
I thought there was another one. All right.
Yeah, that's right.
So here we go. Do you use your computer to play games? Simple one on this, yes or no, only one answer.
Well, it's not quite so simple because I use my tablet to play games.
Right, exactly. I use my phone, so.
We're talking about computers here on this one.
Right, do you use your actual computer? So it looks like 4 yeses and 8 nos.
Okay, we do have some that are using it for games. All right, that's important as I go through Flash, Java, and Shockwave. Okay, so let's talk about this updating of these other what I call other critical software. So printers, first I want to take. There are multiple ways to update your printers. One is through the Windows Update, through the drivers. They can be updated there and that can be automated so that you might not even see that it's happening, but it's going on. The other is going through the printer itself. And I found that a lot of people didn't even know that they could do that through the printer itself. So I've got some pictures here of how that works. And the other is to download printer drivers from either the manufacturer's website or from the Microsoft website and then install them on your device at that point too. So this is one of my, actually I think it's the current HP printer that I have. This is a process of actually going through and installing or updating the drivers on there. On my screen, I have a touch screen on that, and on that screen, when I go to the setup screen, I have to click on that to go to the setup screen. And then from there, what I want to do is I want to click on something called Windows Services Setup. So again, the names of these might vary as you're going from a Canon to an HP to an Epson, but they're all going to be somewhat similar in that respect. The next thing, step 3, would be to do your product updates. Press that button, Then I would press the button that says check for product updates. And then finally, I would see in this particular case, that was 2017. Actually, I think this was my old printer, not the one that's currently there. And at that point, there were no updates. Sue? Sue?
I honestly can't tell you how old my HP printer is. It's at least 5 years old. So how would I check to even know whether my printer offers something like this?
Do you have a little touch screen on the front?
No.
Okay, probably the best way that you can do that, do you have, what is your computer at home? Dell, HP?
I use an HP.
Okay, so hang on for that in a little bit, and I'll show you how you can actually do that through your HP computer.
Okay.
That's coming up. I've actually got pictures of that.
Okay.
In this thing, so well go through that.
And maybe
Any other questions?
maybe
Pardon?
my instruction pamphlet might help me out too.
Well, and I probably will. I'm sure. You know,
Why should I
when all
read
else
the instructions?
when all else fails, read the instructions. Yeah, but I actually just by chance, I do have one of our computers. My wife's laptop is an HP, and we have the HP printer. So I did some screen captures there of how you can do that as well. So that'll work for you, I'm sure, as well. So like I said, the drivers are connecting them. So, oops. So here's another way to do this thing is you may see on your laptop computer, you may see that there are drivers and updates that are available. So Dell might show you that. Or what you want to do is you might want to go through the Dell update. So if you're not getting a message and you're curious whether there are updates, driver updates that need to be done, if you go through your menu, and this is a computer where I have Dell on there, so I go into the D part of it, and I have something called Dell Update. If I click that, then that will take me to a menu that allows me to see what has been updated or what may need to be updated, and allows me to check for updates. Now, I wish every computer would call it update, but not so. So here's the HP laptop. So I went to the HB, I went to H and got the HP help and support and was looking for HB updates. There is no HP updates. HP decided that they wanted to call this support assist. So, oops, I don't think you can see my cursor. It gets lost in the dark there. So you'll notice the big question mark at the bottom under HP Help and Support folder. That's HP Support Assist. That is where you do your HP updates is there. When you click on that, you will go to a screen that looks like this. This is the HP Help and Support Assist. And here's where you get information on your updates. This is where I found out my wife's BIOS need to be updated last week, so I did that. You get messages. Some of those messages are advertising about the great products they have, and you don't have that on your computer, and if you don't get that, life is not going to be very good, so you need to get this thing right away or something to that effect. And notice here I have my printer. So I had actually my recent HP printer and my old printer, I just hadn't removed that from there, but both of those are on this. And if you click this plus, you can add any other HP device. Again, remember, I'm looking at my HP laptop. I'm going through their support assist, but I can look at through that support assist any HP device, including my printers. So usually I update it on the printer, and I happen to be on my wife's laptop one day because she was having problems trying to print. And I went here and actually did the updates right from there, Sue. So this is what you can do. And if it doesn't pick up your printer, it should pick it up automatically if it's Wi-Fi. If it doesn't, you can hit this plus sign and you can add that printer to it. And then you can do your updating right from there.
And I find that page.
This is, let me back up.
That's HP Support Assist.
Yep. So on your menu, on your task menu on Windows, go to the H's down to the H. And there's two different, there's one that's just plain HP folder, and then there's a HP Help and Support Assist folder. This is on page 12. should be of your handout. And then it's under the HP help and support. Yeah, there it is on page 12 of your handout. And all the way down to the bottom, the question mark HP support assist. You click on that and that takes you to this, or yours may look a little bit different maybe than this, but here's the type of thing that you see. This is what I got on my wife's. This is just last week, I think, that I did a new screen capture of that.
Okay.
And like I say, if your printer is Wi-Fi and you've got the Wi-Fi turned on and you got the Wi-Fi turned on your laptop, you would it'll probably pick up your printer and you'll have your printer available.
Okay.
If you don't, then hit the plus and you can add that.
Okay.
Brian's going to show it.
I don't have HP on my system, but I see something out here called HP Smart. Are you familiar with that? I've never seen that before.
I'm not familiar with that, Joe. Do you have an HP laptop or HP devices?
No, I have a Dell and an Epson printer.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I'm wondering.
You know, there's something that I might help you with. On mine, sure. I have a Dell computer, and down on the taskbar, the thing looks like a little wrench. It's called Dell Support or Support Assist. Excuse me.
Yep.
So that might be what you're looking for too.
Oh no, I'm just not familiar with HP Smart. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and I don't know why you'd have that. I don't know why you'd have that on your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one that Marty's talking about is another way to get to the HP update.
Yeah, the Dell update.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dell updates. I'm sorry. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, that's another way I didn't get a chance to have a screen capture.
I have the HP Smart also, and mostly it's concerned with adding printers. It's very similar to what you'd already described: just scanning, smart tasks, ordering print supplies, printing photos.
Oh, okay.
Printer settings.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Thanks, folks. Appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of variations on these things, but all of them should have some way to do your updating. And then, Sue, the ultimate thing is you may have to go to the HP website, download those to your computer, and then update your printer from that. That's another way that you might be able to do that. Okay. But I think probably if you get this support assist, I think you're probably going to see your printer is already there. And then when you click on the updates, that's when you can check for updates and you can download the updates and update that printer.
What does that, why would I want to update my printer if it's just, I don't print a whole lot of stuff. It's just, I mean,
yeah,
the real reason to update your printer?
The real reason is that, like I said, what you're updating are what are called drivers. What the drivers are, those are the things that communicate between the software and the hardware.
Mm-hmm.
If those drivers, if Microsoft makes a change in its software, your computer may not be able to talk to your printer. You may not be able to print because the driver's outdated.
Okay.
So that's
sometimes it seems like it takes it a long time to think about it.
Does, well, and it could be that, yeah, and it could be that you've got an outdated driver, and a new driver would actually speed that up.
Okay.
I did actually have a really weird case. Probably it's got to be more than 6 or 7 years ago, where my printer driver was outdated and my computer locked up when I went to print.
Oh.
And that's pretty unusual, but I got worried what was the problem, and I determined that the only problem was that I think that might have been an Epson printer at that time. But the only problem, once I installed the new drivers to my Epson, I had to shut down my computer. I mean, it just locked up. I shut down my computer, I got restarted. And once I downloaded the drivers and installed the new drivers for the Epson printer, computer is fine. But every time I hit print, it would lock my computer.
Interesting. Is there a lifetime to your, I mean, printers are so inexpensive for the most part anymore. Is there a lifetime to your printer when you you should just replace it?
Well, the one that I showed you where the printer was all updated, So that was in 2017. That was my old printer. And I did that, I think I did that screen capture, November 17. I think the previous update had been 16 on that, and there had been no updates for a year. And that's when it's like, uh-oh, we know we're in trouble. And in fact, I went to the website and there were no more updates. I would like them to actually send a notice, and maybe they did by email, that support for this printer is ending. And that's the time when you probably want to start thinking about getting another printer. Because at some point, once they're no longer supporting it, you may get to that point where you try to print and you can't get anything to print.
And they're just obsolete.
Yeah, they're just obsolete. And you're right, they're just not making them to last like they used to.
Yeah.
So they are going much quicker.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Sure. Anything else on printers? Okay, so that's the printers. So as I said, also, the other thing I noticed when I went to that Support Assist page last week for my wife is that she had a BIOS update. So BIOS is the main thing that really keeps your computer humming. And we've had some issues with the microprocessor chips and the ability to hijack them and actually do what we call buffer overruns and take over your computer because of that. That's been in the fix for a while. So we've had BIOS updates more so in the last couple of years than we've ever had before. One thing and I went ahead and did that for her. And merely all you do is click on BIOS update. When I went to the updating screen, there were a whole bunch of things that were there that I did, and the BIOS update is a separate one that you can do if you want. The reason that that's a little bit special, and I believe I know I did get a message and I just wasn't fast enough to capture it, but it said basically, don't attempt this unless you're plugged into 110 volt. Do not do this on battery power. And the reason for that is what you're doing is what we call flashing the BIOS memory, the firmware. So we're actually writing at a high power. We have to have a high power to actually flash this flash drive so that we can actually change the memory. We're rewriting that chip is what we're doing. And your battery in your computer, there's no battery in a computer that's strong enough to last to be able to go through that process. So if you do a BIOS, it's a good thing to do a BIOS upgrade, but the only word of caution there is make sure you're connected to power. Make sure you're not trying to do that on battery. You won't make it through there. And then if the BIOS gets wiped out or is ineffective, you will not be able to start your computer again. At that point, it becomes what we call boat anchor. So be sure you're connected to 110.
Does that, does your Windows update do your BIOS update?
No, it will not. Windows Update will not do that. So you'd actually, that's a hardware you would actually do. You'd have to go to your, the icon down below, the Dell icon, or go to the, under Dell has an update screen. Unfortunately, didn't do a screen capture of that, but if you went to Dell and the update screen for Dell's, you could actually, you'll see in there that if there is a BIOS update, it will give you a little click to click on the BIOS update. And I'm sure it will give you a message also that says, make sure you're connected to 110 volt before you do this.
Okay, because I have Dell automatically updating too.
Yeah, and that won't do BIOS update.
But won't do BIOS, okay.
Done automatically because it's so critical that you maintain 110 volts that entire time, and it has to have that high power in order to be able to rewrite. What it's doing is rewriting the memory. Something called it's a flash drive.
Yeah, I have had notices about updates. Make sure you're plugged in to the computer.
Okay. Wow. Yep. And those may be very large updates too. I've seen that too, just for Windows updates when they have big, large ones. But that one, it's not a power issue for those as much as a amount of time it's going to take to download.
Okay.
Okay. So Adobe Reader, this is one that you do need to keep updating the Adobe Reader in order to be able to print the document, to read the document that I sent you. That's an Adobe document. Adobe was created many, many, many years ago so that people could read documents across the entire platforms. So you could read it. In fact, back then, it was very difficult. If you had an Apple computer, there wasn't a hope and a prayer that a Microsoft computer could read their files and vice versa. So Adobe plugged itself in there so that you could read them no matter what computer you were on. And you could also print those exactly the same on that stuff. So it's a very important piece of software that you should do. Now, a word of caution there on Adobe, well, several words of caution on Adobe. One is, and this is not unusual just with Adobe, often when you get these downloads of these free programs, you get all sorts of special deals that by default, this is the default, they're checked that you're going to get those whether you like it or not. So you need to be really careful with those. You need to be careful, especially if you are running a McAfee software on your own. So you may have purchased McAfee on your computer and you have a year's subscription to that. And you're running that, and 2 months into it, you get this Adobe thing, and this thing says, yes, install McAfee Safe Connect. And that's a 3-month free trial. That may interfere with the McAfee that you're already running and cause you some real problems on that. So be real careful with these things when they've got these free offers. Make it a habit, whenever you get these free offers, look for optional offers. They will always be checked and always uncheck them. In fact, some of them are probably a waste of time to begin with. Adobe has been one of the most hijacked websites around. So that's another thing about Adobe Flash and Adobe Reader. So be real careful that you're going to the exact websites for those. Those are the 2 good websites that you can go to download Adobe. There are a lot of impersonators that you could run into, and they could cause you problems. Now, there are also what are called PDF readers by third parties. So you may get into one of those and download those. I've not looked at a lot of those. I don't have much stock in them. Frankly, I worry about how good they are or what they are. So I just stick with the Adobe. It's free. The reader is free. Flash. Okay, Flash, end of life finally will come December 31st of this year. So Flash will no longer be available. Flash hasn't been used by many programs for a while since we moved to HTML5. HTML5 does a lot of the stuff that Adobe Flash did, so there's not much reason for Adobe Flash. If you have, and here's where my question about games, if you're playing games, a lot of games used Adobe Flash, and if you want to keep those games, you may need to run Adobe Flash to run those games. Adobe Flash, as well as these other programs I'm going to talk about, are no longer supported. They're no longer kept up to date. Nobody's ensuring that they are free from malware, or in fact can't be used to hijack and put malware on your computer. So the best things with all these 3 is if you have them on your computer, to remove those. And I need to, at some point, one of the next ones, I'll talk about how you remove programs, where you go to do that so that you know how to remove programs. But those other 3 all need, this one, and then Shockwave and Java even, if you've got those on your computer and you're not using those, it's best to remove those things. So, oh, and then here I wanted to show how you download Flash. So there's a little illustration, and probably the most important thing on page 15 of your handout of that is to know that when you download programs to your computer, most of you have not changed the default downloading, and the default downloading is to download whatever you're downloading to something called the downloads folder, and that's where you're going to find that. So if you download Flash, Adobe Reader, whatever, it's most likely going to go into your downloads folder. And then if in this particular case, this was when Flash got downloaded. So I would look for a program. I don't know what the name's going to be, but I would look for a program that says Flash in it, something like that. Or I'd look for Adobe Reader or something like that. Every now and then, some software gets really weird, and it's 102.5.7.356.6.exe. In that case, what you have, if you change your Windows Explorer to show the details, you will see the date modified and look for what came down today, the day that you did that, and then you'll know which program it is. That's probably the most important thing, is to know how to find where you've got it. Now, you can change in your browsers where you download things from. So if you do that, be careful where you're downloading them from. But the default is to download to the downloads folder. So, and that was just a downloading example that you can see in there. Java, like I say, Java, probably, I'm going to guess that this is not even installed on computers since 2019. Another one that's gone away, went away some time ago. If you are, some games need Java. So you need to understand with the games that you're playing, and only a couple of you are doing games, to see if one of the requirements for that games is Java. If it is, you need to run Java. If not, you're probably best off taking Java off your computer. Shockwave is another one. That one ended in April of 2019. So the end of life was April 9th last year. New computers, if you bought them this year, you probably didn't get it with it. You probably didn't get downloads with it. But again, if you are, some games use Shockwave, and that's all they could do to display the animation in there is use Shockwave. If you have a game that uses it, you're going to have to keep it. If not, remove it from your computer. Okay, let's talk about antivirus. Are any questions before we go into that? Take a minute or two. Okay. Let's talk about antivirus. I'm going to talk about Windows Defender, and I'm going to talk about McAfee. And I think I got another question, don't I? I do. So.
You do. All right. Here we go. 1 second. All righty. This is another multiple choice, so you can answer more than one. What do you use for antivirus? Windows Defender, McAfee, Norton, other, whatever I get from my internet provider, or I don't bother. Once again, I added one in there for you, Charlie.
Well, and I did, when I did these live over at Lincoln Library, I did have some people who did not run any antivirus.
Right, exactly. So you can pick all of the above. Some people are super, super safety, and some people don't care. So, all right, I think we are about done. So I'm going to end the polling on this one. Right now, it looks like most of you are using something other.
Something other than those three, and that's fine. There are a whole bunch of antivirus programs out there, just a ton.
The good news is there's nobody that doesn't bother.
And that is good, and that is very good on that. And then I can't remember.
All right.
Going with that, I think I do, yeah. There you go. Have you ever scanned your flash drive? We got one more.
I'm sorry, I closed it up. All right, here we go.
Last question.
Last question of the day is, have you ever scanned a flash drive for malware? Yes, no, or a what? Have you ever scanned a flash drive for malware? Yes, no, or a what? All righty, so I'm going to end the polling. And most people say no, 2 say yes.
Okay.
There's 2 good people out there, and then there's 2 within the boat with me saying, a what?
Okay, so let's talk about that stuff. All right, so Windows Defender. Windows Defender comes for free. It's an antivirus that's created by Microsoft, runs on Microsoft. Over the years, there's been a lot of discussion about the value of Windows Defender and its predecessors. I think in the last couple of years, they finally got it together, and it's a pretty good program. Now, one thing you need to know about that is you are, whether you like it or not, you are running Windows Defender. The question really is, are you using something else in addition to Windows Defender? If you are, Windows Defender kind of steps aside and lets those other programs do their thing, and then it'll pick up some other things as well. So I've done a couple screen captures so that some people may not even realize what they're running or how they're running it. So hopefully by looking at these screen captures, you can find out where you're at and what you're doing. So where do you find the information about Windows Defender? Well, you find that if you go to Settings, you go to Update and Security, and then if you go to the Windows Security, you will look at a page that looks like this. And this page then tells you that this particular computer is protected. It's got a little green check under virus and threat protection, a little green check for account protection, a little green check for firewall and network, a little green check for app and browser, another green check for device security. So all those are current, up to date, and working. We can run device performance and health also from Windows. So Windows can check your device performance, see if you have hardware that's not functioning well. And then there are also family options. So you can manage families and set up different permissions and different things for children, for your spouse, maybe if you want to. And that, oops, I think she's sitting over there too. I better be quiet. So another way you can get to this is type Windows security into the text search, or just speak to Cortana and say Windows security, and you'll get probably right to this page. So like I said, you may run Defender as your only antivirus, and I'm doing that on one of our computers. I've done that on a couple computers a couple times. You may run McAfee or Norton or whatever else, and at the same time that you're running Defender, because you really can't turn Defender off. So when you run those others, like I say, Defender will step aside and let them take over their primary functions and do some other things. So,
Charlie, RKT would like you to know that the free window or the free Norton trial actually goes away in a couple weeks. It doesn't even make it to the full 30 days.
Oh, really? Jeez. Oh, well, you know, what can I say? That happens. Now,
that's they'll come in there.
That's the free Norton that comes with the Comcast internet provider. I've had that for many, many years. And if you have Comcast, you're losing it on January 1st.
And thank you. The service providers, Comcast and ATT in this area primarily, both of them have provided free software. Now, very interesting thing, I use ATT. So they provided the free McAfee. That's why I use McAfee on mine a lot. But the way that works is some time ago, several years ago, they limited to 4 installations, and that's it. Prior to that, it used to be unlimited. You could put it on all your devices. So they limited that to 4 installations. And once I got to 4 installations, well, I buy a computer, I install it, I get rid of the computer, and now I got another computer, so I've got the 3rd installation. I get rid of another old computer for my wife and get a new one. Now I got the 4th one. So then my other laptop dies, or it's too old, so I get a new laptop, and I go to install it, and they say, well, you've already got 4 installations. And I laughed. I was actually on the line with them, and I said, well, you must be talking about 2 computers, which I no longer own. And he said, you have 4 installations. I said, I tell you what, there are only 2 computers running your antivirus currently in this house. There were 2 others. Those no longer are in the house. They're gone. They've been trashed. So oh, that's all you get is 4. You've had your 4 downloads. So our RKT, they're all kind of changing this thing around. A year ago, I changed my subscription that I have with ATT Uverse to a different subscription. And the person told me at the end of this, after I finally decided what I wanted and agreed to the package, and he says, oh, now you get 4 new antivirus installations. So now I've got new ones. So I would suggest call Comcast and talk to them. They may have a new plan where you may be able to get antivirus again from them under a new plan, or it may come with, if you resubscribe to Comcast. But give them a call. I'd encourage you, call them and find out what they got. And then let me know, because I'd like to know to tell people also what to do. But I know that's what happened with ATT. So when I changed my subscription, I got 4 new ones.
Yeah, well, Comcast says they're not doing this with my particular service anymore. And Norton will give me a 6 months free extension, then I can pay. I asked I guess the head of security at the power plant, his recommendation, and he says just use what Windows uses, which is why I'm interested in what you're going to say here.
Yeah, the Defender. I think it's a good product, and you'll see here as I go through the screens here, it'll do, I think, whatever you need. There are, AGV is another free one, so there are a couple free antiviruses out there that you could add if you want to. You can do that, but I think I'm pretty comfortable with Windows Defender taking care of your needs. So This is a computer, the one I'm showing you right there. This is on page 19 of your handout. This is a computer that is running McAfee. And so this is the virus and threat protection. And it basically, it pops up in there and says that that's being handled by McAfee. So I get the notice that it's being handled. And in fact, Windows Defender has determined that it's current on threats, it's current on its settings, and it's current on updates. So it's pulling that information from McAfee to let me know. It's pulling that through. Microsoft Anti-Defender, and notice here, and RKT, you may want to take a look at this, but this says Windows Defender antivirus options. You can keep using your current provider and have Microsoft Defender antivirus periodically check for threats. So I could have set this on that computer and have both McAfee and Defender checking for threats if I want to. Now you will be done with McAfee, but you'll still have Windows Defender protecting you. So this is, again, the same screen, if you will, on the computer that I have that does not run McAfee. This computer that I have is only running Windows Defender. So notice there, again, current threats are none. I can scan from that. I can set my scan options. I can change and allow certain things or disallow certain things, just like you can do on McAfee. I can look at the production, the update history of that. All this stuff is available. This is all Microsoft Defender, and it is protecting that computer. So here are your settings that you can go through and change right here. And then here are some links where you can get some more information about how you might customize this and what's available. So I think you'll find that this works pretty good. And then right down here at the bottom, the last thing is you can go and check manually, you can go and check to make sure that you're updated for Defender on that thing as well. So I think you'll find it works pretty good. I found I was running it on another laptop of mine. I ran it for a year or more, never had any problem with it. Okay, so account protection is the same for both. There's a tab called account protection. Whether you're running Defender alone or you're running McAfee, I didn't see any difference on that, on both of those. Firewall is a little different. So on the firewall, and this is on page 21 of your handout, if you have McAfee running or Norton or whoever, notice here, this set is all grayed out. This is that computer, that laptop that I've currently got that does not run McAfee or any other antivirus. It's only running Windows Defender. This one, all my firewall settings are available to me. So I can go down and change all those firewall settings in Defender. I can allow certain apps to go through the firewall. I can do my network and internet troubleshooting. I can do my notification settings. I can restore to defaults. I can go and do more advanced ones. So all that's available. Notice up here, this is a computer that is running McAfee. All this is grayed out in Windows Defender because Windows Defender is not doing it. It recognized that McAfee is taking care of that and says, let it go, McAfee, you're taking care of it.
And all of this stuff, you can find it in settings.
Yeah, this would be, again, if you go back to what you want to do is go to
update and security.
Yep. So on page 18 of your handout, I think I wrote those steps.
Let me go back.
Go to settings, go to up, and it's kind of weird because you have to go to update and security, then you have to pick Windows security from that.
Okay.
And then something that looks like that.
Charlie, could you, when you get a second, elaborate on malware a little bit?
Malware is anything bad for your computer. Malware is the big, huge term that encompasses everything. So we talk about viruses. We talk about botnet software. So botnet software is bad. Malware is the umbrella that is botnet software, is viruses, is ransomware is another particular type. That would be called malware. So malware is the big term for everything. Then you can get more specific. And in the IT community, we'd get real granular on this thing and sort of break them all down into everything. If we want to just say anything bad that can be put on your computer, the word for that is malware.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Sue, you all set on where you can go from there?
Yes, and I remember a couple of classes ago that I took with you, you set me up with that malware bites, and
Oh, yeah.
that's still run, and that's what you still use?
Well, I haven't used it. Every once, I use that if if I really suspect I got a bad virus on my computer. I had one that I suspected I might have a virus on. So I ran Norton. I did scans using Windows Defender, Norton, and Malwarebytes. So I don't use it normally, but if there's something bad going on, my old favorite way of doing that is I went into to safe mode. And Windows 10 was a real pain in the butt to get into safe mode. Now it looks like we can get into there very easily. And that's the way I would, if you had a really bad virus, I would go into safe mode and run antivirus in safe mode. That was the best way to do it. But Malwarebytes is the next best way.
Well, I'm so challenged, I don't know if I have a virus or not, so.
Are funny things going on your computer?
Not really. Well,
okay.
I take that back. The only thing that I was going to ask you about this is when I have Xfinity, and when I go into my email, it will, on the top it has the bar and it has the HTTPS / whatever, secure. And then I'll look back up there a couple of minutes later and it'll say unsecure.
And that may not be a problem as much as some sites are secure sites. So they're HTTPS. If you've been hitting a number of secure sites, then you go to an insecure site, not a bad site. Most of them are unsecure. They're just plain old HTTP. But if you've been doing a bunch of HTTPS, your email may be alerting you that you've now left a secure site. You're now
does. But then, so then I go into, I hit it and it'll say block pop-up or, pop-up blockers and that kind of thing. And it doesn't make a difference in, what, because a lot of times in my email, I'll just go perhaps over to Facebook from that and it won't allow me to do that unless I allow pop-ups.
Yep.
So I'm not doing anything that's infecting my computer with bad things. Okay. Yeah, I had never noticed that before. That
it's
that little
it's
bar
interesting.
said, you're insecure.
Sometimes a number of things have been going on and we just haven't paid any attention, and for some reason we get focused on it. And it's a weird thing, Sue, because all of a sudden, if you've never noticed that before, there is that tendency to be a little bit more cautious, and that's a good thing. But I would say, from what I'm hearing, I don't think you have a problem.
Okay. Super.
All righty.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let's go, so that's Defender, oops, so a couple more. Yeah, so we got the account protection and then the firewall differences. So then there's app and browser protection. And again, with and without. This first one, I think I didn't label that very clearly. That first one on page 22, that one is with McAfee running on it. And this one is without McAfee. So this is my laptop that does not have McAfee. It's just plain old Defender. So you can see it's a little bit different. I've got a few different things on this one that I don't have there, most specifically the exploit protection. So Defender's taking care of that here and allows you to either say yes or no to it. Over here, Defender's saying, oh, looks like McAfee's taking care of it, so we're not doing anything with it. Okay, McAfee, let's look at McAfee for a couple minutes. So McAfee, home. This is the home page on December 5th. I just did a new update of this because these are changing. Oh, actually, because this is on my new laptop. So the one that I just got in early November. So this is what that looks like there. So you may notice on some of my screen captures as you peruse through that handout, some of them do say ATT, I think. Yeah, well, maybe it's coming up. But there are some that do say ATT in the corner. Oh, there it is. Actually, the next page. Oh, this one's not on there. Never mind. But that is, so this is McAfee, but this is the one that I'm using from ATT, provided for free from ATT. This one, however, is the one that is on my new laptop, which gave me 1 year of McAfee free. So I'm running that out, and then I'll install the one from, probably install the one from my service provider on that as well. So this is my home page. This home page has got a lot of good stuff on it. This is the page that you'll do the most with. And in fact, let me draw your attention to this. This is on page 24, your handout. Those 3 dots there are probably the things that you're going to want to go to the most with McAfee. If you're running McAfee, that's the thing you're going to want to go to most. This one was on the computer that doesn't have McAfee on it. It's only running. So you see all the McAfee. Now, got this. And Joe, this goes back to your issue there with that HP too, perhaps. The reason that I get this coming up on that one laptop is when we bought that laptop new, it came with a 6-month or 3-month or 1 year free McAfee, and that had expired. I downloaded and put my ATT McAfee on that. Or no, actually, I've left that as Defender. So that has expired, but the interesting thing to me is that it still scans. So McAfee, even though it's expired, will still scan the computer and let us know if it detects any viruses there. But as you can see, all of the functions, all the other functions are blanked out on that. So they're grayed out, you can't do them. But because it was on there once, it's like they're still at least providing a little backup protection for us, which is kind of cool, I think. Okay,
but you wouldn't
so
be getting the latest. You wouldn't be getting the latest bugs out there.
No, I wouldn't be getting the latest one. Well, I don't know that, Joe, and that's one of the things that I really, because there's no way, I don't have the capability of going in and manually updating it. I don't see that it does the update, but we see every now and then the McAfee scanned and you're okay. So I don't know if it's just in the background doing an update of the virus definitions or not. I really don't know. And because I'm so comfortable with Windows Defender, I'm not that concerned about it because Defender is working on that and taking care of it. But yeah, I don't know how to figure it out. I'll have to spend some time. It's my wife's laptop, so I don't spend as much time with that thing poking around as I do with mine. Okay, so unfortunately, this one didn't make it to your handout, but like I said, you folks, I'll send you a revised handout at some point in the next couple of weeks. With these, I got a couple more screen caps I wish I had time to do, and I'll get them for the next one when I do that one from 6 to 8 o'clock in the evening. I'll get it in their handout, and then I'll send you guys a revised handout with that stuff too. But here is, again, like I said, this is the most important page, that home screen. If you click that check, you will get this thing here, this little menu. And this is where you can do a virus scan. You can scan if you have a flash drive. And I encourage people, if you ever take your flash drive back when we get the CCA AAA opened again mid to late next summer, and we're doing hands-on stuff and we give you flash drives of things. When you bring those things home, I know we're very good about keeping that lab clean. We've never had, as far as I know, a problem, and I've been with them for a few years also. Not as long as Martin, but been there quite a few years. We've never had a virus that we've given out from that, but I would encourage you to plug that thing into your computer and scan it just to check and make sure. Anytime you put a flash drive in somebody else's computer, a computer somewhere at a library or something else, when you bring that home, scan it. And I've got some other captures I'll do of how you actually go about doing that. But this is a place you can do that. Automatically scans are set up on my computers to scan my computers, do full scans periodically. Of course, if I shut down my computer, it doesn't finish and it doesn't work. So I will go in periodically and just click on that and do a virus scan while I'm working. I know I'm going to be working away on my computer for half the day. I'll just go and do a virus scan on that. Real-time scanning is on. I want to know that's on and be sure I see that. Firewall settings can be changed, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And updates, I still like to periodically go to that updates thing and check and see if there are updates. Most of the time, I never get them because I've got the automatic on, but every once in a while, I will catch an update. and I will do it. So here, this is a screen capture. Actually, I've moved back to my desktop on this, where I'm running the ATT McAfee version. And that particular date, the scan was current. It scanned and found no issues, or the updates were all set and there were no issues. And I verified that automatic updates are on. You can set that to download updates, but notify me before it installing. You can set it so you just, and this is the way I have it set, just download them and install them. Don't wait for me. You can do it, notify that updates are available, but don't even download them. So a number of different settings that you can do in McAfee on that. Here is the firewall. And again, unfortunately, I didn't get this one into your handout in time, but I'll have it in the revised one. So this is the McAfee firewall. And when you look at the defenders, I haven't gone through and analyzed all that stuff lately, but it had a whole host of things that you can set up in a firewall. One of my classes, I'll talk about what all this stuff is and what it means, one of the future ones. So if you are interested in that, but there's a lot of capabilities in your firewall. By default, a lot of these things have default settings for them, and that's what's set up to begin with. There are a lot of changes you can make to those to make your system more secure, and I'll talk about that in another seminar. If you
Hey,
guys
Charlie,
Yeah.
Joe would like you to know value off VPN on your home network.
Yes,
Yes.
value on.
What does value off mean, Joe?
The value of, I'm sorry if I put
Oh,
in that. Do you
Oh, the
really
value
mean-
of a VPN for your home network. Ah,
Yeah.
okay. The value is this: when you normally send emails or you upload files or download files, it doesn't go through a secure connection. So remember we talked about HTTP and HTTPS. HTTPS is the secure one. Similarly for email, general email is not secure email. What it means is that everything is sent in what we call plain text format. So it's could be read by anybody. If I intercept that email, I can read the whole email. And to IT people, what we also can read are the headers in the email. So the headers would give your IP address, your gateway IP address. It would give the protocol, what kind of protocol you're using for this. It gives a ton of other information that's almost more valuable than the email itself. So all that stuff is in plain text. When you use a VPN, what it does is encrypts all that information, so it's no longer plain text. So if somebody did intercept it, they would read a bunch of what looks like gibberish, and it would be of no value to them. That's one of the things it does. VPNs do a little bit more than that. But so for most of us, for the home, it's probably not a big deal. If you are a business person and you're working from home, business documents are extremely valuable. So your budgeting stuff, your secrets about your projects, your secrets about how things are, the average worker may not think of those as secrets, but how we do our business is proprietary information. It is secret. Machine tool company I work for, IMCO, we did not want anybody to understand how we actually did our processes, how we ran the processes. That's our proprietary information. Some of our stuff, we patented the information. Kind of good news, bad news about that is you have to write down exactly how everything goes when you patent it. We discovered the pitfalls of that back in the late 80s. So if you are doing business work from home, all that, people should not be able to intercept it. And if you're doing business from home, you should be running through a VPN. In fact, if you're doing work from home, your company probably is providing you with their own VPN product so that they send that. But for us, generally, not a biggie.
we have a
Charlie,
VPN.
wouldn't your other end have to be able to receive the VPN? I mean,
Yes, it
I
would.
would see that it would, well, I guess what I envision is that the VPN leaves here and it goes to some server out there at the other end of VPN. And then they're delivering it to the ultimate location. Well, if the ultimate location doesn't have VPN, you still, I mean, so that's why I guess by asking what's the value for a home network.
And nothing, because if there isn't at the other end, there is no VPN.
Okay.
All of the information that leaves your computer goes to some other server first, whether it's through a VPN server or not. it all goes through another server. That server passes it on to something else, which goes to another server, and then that final server goes the final leg. But the VPN has to be all the way through. We used to, when I was doing the IT stuff, when VPNs first came out, there were a group of us who used to call, we had another name for VPN, Virus Propagation Network. And that's because all the VPN does is guarantee nobody can read what's going through. So if I have a virus on my computer and that gets passed in my email, which goes through a VPN, it will successfully go through that whole VPN string, and it will never be able to be checked by an antivirus. Now that may have changed since, but back then, antivirus, because it was encrypted, couldn't read and couldn't determine that there was a virus in there. So when we first started doing VPNs, a lot of people were doing VPNs thinking they were absolutely protected from viruses, but the businesses were getting infected with viruses. And how? And that's because we called it virus propagation networks. The viruses would get through, the antiviruses could not check an encrypted stream, so they didn't know there was a virus in there. So it guaranteed for the bad guys a way to get viruses across your computer, your whole computer network.
And a note
So
about
that's what I call them.
VPNs, if you're going to use Zoom, they are, it will kick you off Zoom more often than not. So we have a VPN for work for all of our everything because we work from home. And every time I host a Zoom, I turn it off because otherwise I can get kicked in and out pretty easily. So if you're struggling with Zoom at home and you have a VPN, turn it off.
Turn it off.
Yeah.
You probably from home, like I say, unless you're doing your business work from home, you probably don't really need to use a VPN. Now, if on the other hand, you had come across the secret to living to 130 years old with a 30-year-old body, and you were writing that up in an email and wanting to send it to a friend, I would encourage you and your friend to make a VPN connection and send that, because I will try to steal that information from you. But
I'd share it because I wouldn't want to be here by myself, so I'd share it.
Oh, good, Joe. All right. I could be there with you. But yeah, I think for homes, we really probably don't need VPNs. But work, you do, and it will be supplied by your work because they've got to have the communications on both ends, and they got to have the VPN tunnel going all the way through. So they will take care of it. They will give you the stuff on a laptop and have you use that.
You know, I was going to say one thing about VPNs. One of the values of them is if you're working for a company, you can access every file within that company, just like you were sitting at your desk, you know, at the office. So that's the primary use for them.
That's right. And that's stuff that, you know, normally from a business perspective, you aren't concerned because you can only get it when you're at the office.
Right.
And when we do this work from home stuff, you got to protect that stuff. Okay, so another one, this will be on the revised one. The McAfee, here's how you do the quick scan. You can run a quick scan or a full scan. You can do a custom scan, and at some point later, I probably need to talk about what's involved in all those. Generally, again, those drives that you bring in, the flash drives you bring in from outside, at least do a quick scan on those things. You may run a full scan on a flash drive. It's not going to take that long to do that stuff. Custom scans, when you know what you're looking for, I can show you how that works too. Okay, PC security. This is another tab there that talks about, it's called your cyber bodyguard, PC performance. So these are some of the other functions that you have there. My privacy, and when you hit this little arrow, you get some other additional stuff on these things too. And my information, this is where you have your account information, and you can update, change things. And I've got 338 days left on this Norton that I got with a new laptop. All righty, so that brings me to resources. Like I said, pretty much hands down, unfortunately, has stopped because of the COVID pandemic. But my best guess, I always like to predict things. I like to see if I can be fairly good at this. I'm not bad. Sometimes I'm really horrible, but I'm not bad. So my latest prediction on this is that hopefully summer, likely mid-summer or later, that we'll be getting back to some more hands-on, that the CCA, AAA might start bringing up our computer lab, and that'll be available again. So if you're, for those in the St. Joe, Michigan area, hands-on, if you want hands-on, once this starts happening, Campus for Creative Aging, the Area Agency on Aging, I think midsummer maybe, or later, we'll be back to some hands-on. Lincoln Township Library did, a couple of you guys I know went to the Lincoln Township Library ones that I did them just like this. I just did PowerPoints, but Brian did hands-on stuff there as well. So he had those classes that were going. I think he'll probably pick those up as well. Online CCA, AAA, I think I will continue to do some online stuff for CCA, AAA if they'll have me beyond next summer into the fall and that, and the winter as well. For those of you, I know do have, now I have the information that some of you are from out of the area, but still in the US. What I would look for if you're looking for hands-on, look for SeniorNet. That is where the stuff that Martin's doing with the Excel and the Windows and all that stuff, that's where AAA, where we got started, they got started before I got involved with them, was those were programs written by the SeniorNet with a very specific intention of providing hands-on instruction with a coach. So I do the coaching. Well, some of you have been in the Excel class with me as a coach. So I'm a coach. Martin is the instructor, goes through it. I'm there to, if you get lost, jump right up and help you catch up to where you're going. That was the SeniorNet philosophy. Those organizations are still going on throughout the US. I would look for those. Some of the local libraries like Lincoln Township here do provide hands-on training. He bought a bunch of laptops so he could do that. Some of the libraries have done that. Look at your community colleges like Michigan College. We used to, a long time ago, do what we called community ed classes at community colleges. We seem to have gotten away from that more, unfortunately. But those community ed classes would provide hands-on training and computer stuff as well. For the online ones, you know, people, we didn't ask what states you're from, but Arizona, California, it could be. Somebody was from another state. You can still get our online stuff that we've got. Eventbrite just seems to have a wide reach, and they seem to have all sorts of stuff on there. I would look to those things. So that's where I would go if you're looking for more stuff. The more you can do of this stuff, the better. Every class, every seminar you take, if you can pick up one or two more pointers, it's one or two more things that you didn't know before that can help you out. So I do a number since, gosh, I think I was about 17. I started mostly with the keeping computer safe stuff. So I've got at least 6 hours of this material. And again, I will repeat this with those additional handouts and actually a couple others that I wish I had stuck in there. So that'll be December 15th, Wednesday, December 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. I do 3 courses on scams. One is what I call off-premise scams. That's phones and online scams. Some of you may have attended that a couple weeks ago. I do on home improvement scams and working with contractors. I call that on-premise scams. Those are, I call them that because those are people coming to your house, coming to your area, coming to your facility. Those types of scams are a little bit different. I do a general one on scams, so you know how to protect yourself, and more of a deep dive into what are the enablers of scams, what are the ways that people do scams, what's the motivation behind that, and all that stuff. And then I have cybersecurity. I've done various cybersecurity ones. Did an Internet of Things. I tried to get Brent to pick that up and do that more, but I don't know what's happening with that, Amy, but we did that too. So those are the types of things I like to do. And hearing from you folks, feedback I really, really appreciate, especially on this one. I need more of X or more of Y, or you know, I didn't find it valuable to spend that much time on this part. Tell me which parts specifically. That helps me a lot. Yes, Joe. Or you're applauding.
Yeah, that was an applaud, but I did want to make a comment about another online source for courses is Get Set Up. Get Set Up. They have excellent courses also in a variety of things, including technical.
And their classes are all free now to Michigan residents. I was going to mention that because at the state level, the Department of Health and Human Services has just got a contract with them in order to make all of their classes free to the state of Michigan. So I was going to do a little promotion on that. So thanks, Joe.
Great. Excellent. All right. Any other questions?
comments?
Thank you.
Comments?
All right.
Very
Well,
informative. Makes me feel better.
That's
Good.
the point, right?
15.
So I do have a question. Brian, what do you teach, and do you want to teach it online?
No, I don't.
No. Okay, well, I'm
He's
always
not a
recruiting. I'm always recruiting people. So that's part of my job. I'm the queen of the Zoom at the campus. But speaking of the campus, on behalf of the campus, thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. And go look at either I think it's getsetup.org or campus4creativeaging.org, and for more classes and fun things to do, because it's going to be a long winter.
Yes, it is.
It's actually getsetup.io. I don't know what that is, but that's what.
I don't know. They're out of California. That's what I know about them. So that was it.
I'm going to look it up, Joan, and I'll add it to my list of resources. Thank you for letting me know.
Awesome.
Charlie,
Thank
I
you
got
very
one
much.
thing for you.
Sure.
What I originally was talking about, that version 20 H2, I looked it up.
Yeah.
I installed that on November 22nd, and the 2004 was installed in July. So, it's very recent. I knew I hadn't done it too long ago.
Yeah. All right. Well, I gotta look at mine. I don't want to look online because it gives away your serial numbers to stuff, and I don't want to put that up. You see, I block those out on the screen captures, but I want to look at mine because I haven't looked at them since we've had Patch Tuesday on Tuesday and see what we got on those. But thanks, Martin. Appreciate that. All righty. Any other comments?
Thank you.
You're welcome, Sue.
Yeah,
Appreciate
good job,
it.
Charlie.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you
Great.
all.
Hope to see you again someday, and send me emails. Give me feedback. I'd love to know what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear. Both are very helpful.
Thank you.